We're two people in their 50s. Start your YouTube channel. You guys have been talking about it. Start it. We started it.
We started it as a hobby. It's just turned into a lifestyle.
We reinvented ourselves. And then we were like, how are we going to pay for this? It's fucking tough sometimes.
Hey, gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me on the show in your studio.
Well, Steve, when you called and asked, I mean, we couldn't say no. I mean, you came into our studio. You were one of our first guests a couple of years ago when we started this whole channel. So we owed you one.
Well, a lot's happened. So for anyone that doesn't know who you are, and they obviously see we're in Two Lane Life studio. And you recently moved over to a larger location. We're going to talk about the growth and the business you've had. But I want to start off right at the beginning. How long have you two been on two wheels independently? And then when did you two guys meet up?
Oh, wow. Well, 35 years ago, we met up because our wives, they worked together in a pediatrician's office. So we've known each other for 35 years, let's say, maybe plus. And we'd go to work parties. We'd hang out. There was no motorcycles. We had families. My son got into his motorcycle world of racing and freestyle. So I was doing that every weekend and all week. His athletic son was in baseball, football, basketball, mostly basketball, probably. And I got my first Harley in 2008.
Yeah. So we went through this the other day, actually. Funny you asked the question about the riding, and I had to look back and go, holy shit, I'm old. Like, I'm 57, and I was on my first little push motorcycle just with foot control at like 3 years old.
Right.
And then we added a 2.5 horsepower Briggs and Stratton to a little mini bike frame. So I've actually been riding with a motor since about 4 or 5 years old. So 50 plus years.
So, okay. We can agree here we're old. Okay, yeah. You know, we've seen some of our kind of like younger rebellious years, but there's still the myth, the preconceptions of bikers. You know, the beards, the tattoos, the black t-shirts, and we're fitting in very, very attractively to that now. We were actually talking about your son Lance. We've got to give him a shout out. Thrashing Supply. If no one's heard of it, it's fantastic. But Lance is one of the younger faces of the motorcycle world now.
Right.
Why is it that we're still, though, heavily shrouded by the misconceptions of what the one percenters and the bikers actually mean? Because let's be serious, we shove the helmet on, we jump on a bike, and everyone gets out of the way. Why are so many people still scared of bikers?
Because I think that we're on these machines that they make noise. We feel powerful out there. We look powerful. We're all geared up and we ride around. And there is that mystique. Hey, some of us are dirty. Some of us are clean. The beard might be hanging out. You got a knife on your side. Maybe you got this stigma, you know?
Yeah. And I wonder if it's with people more our age and maybe a little bit younger than us. I don't know if the youth see it that way so much. Maybe they do. If you're in a cut or something like that, maybe that's a profile that you're afraid of. But you've been to Neptune's on a weekend. You get people that are weekend warriors there. You get people that have ridden all over the country. Some of the weekend warriors have knives on them this big, and they're a doctor by daytime or attorney. So it's not like, but they are into the dress and into what it feels like to be a motorcyclist. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's the power of the bike, the sound of the bike. Maybe it's because there's not that many of us that do it.
You bring up something very powerful, though. We are in a world of technology where technology is growing exponentially. AI is right in itself now. We've never been in a more connected universe, yet we've never been more disconnected.
Right.
Yet we can pull into a bar of bikers and feel comfortable and have a conversation and sync a few with people that we've never met before. We drive down the street and we're waving. So there's that sense of community and belonging that is associated and normal with bikers. And as you're saying, from all different ages, but to a lot of people that are fearful of that. I've never seen anyone drive down the road in a car and suddenly wave because the other guy's driving a Cadillac or something. But on bikes, you know, we're doing it to each one. Why is the community so strong within bikers?
I think because we're outnumbered by everyone else. So it's you feel like a band of
That's
brothers. It could be it.
We're the minority.
We're the minority. So we're out there and hey, one of me, you give the wave, one of me, you're riding down the road. Something happens, you need someone to help you out. Usually it's going to be a biker.
Right.
Well, I also think that if everyone could ride a motorcycle, then we'd see more bikes, obviously. But I think people are fearful of two wheels. And so there's this camaraderie that's built because you ride. Yeah, I ride. Oh, let's go for a ride.
Yeah.
You don't go into a guy in a car at Neptune's and say, "Oh, you drive? Let's go for a drive." You just don't do it.
Unless they both have their cool Porsches, but you could be on the road anywhere and you're never, any kid in a car wants out of that car and they want on the bike, they see the bike, they go nuts. It's just like, so we wave at little kids in cars too, because they dig it.
Yeah. No, I always do the same. So you guys have been riding. It's funny that you started so late in the life with your son being such a successful athlete.
But the thing that happened is I remember going to Indian Dunes in the 70s on a YZ 125 a couple of times, no big deal. I never got into it. I raced whitewater kayaks. I was a river guide. I was always in the mountains. As soon as Lance started racing, anything I did was put on the shelf. I took him I was his guy.
Right.
I took him to the track. I talked.
As it should be.
Yeah,
You're the dad.
And it's funny because while he was racing, I was there and showing him stuff, and while he was learning the backflip, and I watched him so much and told him so much that I actually felt like if I had the guts, I think I can backflip a dirt bike because I know in my head what you have to do, right. But I didn't have the guts to ever try it. So
I mean, I went up to Lemon Grove, which is a little racetrack that I don't know if it's even still there, is it?
I don't know.
Just in Fillmore?
Yeah. Fillmore.
And watched Lance Jr. Race. He was on a PW50. I think he was 6 or 7 years old. So I took my son up there, who was 2 at the time, just to, get him into it. And I took my son, ended up getting on a PW50 as well. I wish he rode more today, but he doesn't. We let it go.
Right. So,
but I think if you go back to your kind of, what's been interesting for us too, is this community that you're talking about. I think we probably didn't pay as close attention to it when that was just the 2 of us riding. It was just about the 2 buddies going out, as you say. What do you say? A pint? What do you?
I did not going to pint.
Thinking of you.
Yeah, think of you. Yeah.
Think of you. That was us. We would just, it was a weekend rider kind of stuff at first, and it became, hey, I've got a day job. He's got a day job. Maybe we could take Saturday night and go up somewhere. Then it became a couple of years later. It was like, well, maybe I drew a circumference around LA partially and said, here's 500 miles. Here's where we can get to. And we can do 500 in a day. So we can go out a couple days. And that's what really started this whole idea about riding. And it wasn't so much about the community. It was about the 2 of us exploring like cowboys on our horses, right? We were just going into these different little towns and we'd come back with these amazing stories. And so I don't think the community side of it probably hit us as much until recently. And that community, as we found out, is not just here. It's across this globe. We have people last weekend from New Zealand, week before from Italy. We've got people from all over the globe coming in to say hello and get a picture with us. And it's just like, so that, to me, that community you're talking about really expanded to us over the last couple of years because we just weren't focused on it.
I want to get into that because you've gone from being boys that just like to ride with each other, with wives, fantastic. And then you went, let's make this a business.
Well, we didn't start the let's make it a business for a while. We were riding. We both like history. So when we get on our bikes, it's like you're going back in time. I always call them time machines because you go back in time. We found the 2-lane. We'd talk to people in bars, restaurants, business owners, a farmer in Cody, Wyoming, sitting there eating, hearing him. And then we start talking. So we started bringing these home and people were like, why aren't you sharing this? And then Lance said to me, you guys can go out and you can like do a little bit of this and maybe sell a few parts and make enough for gas money and go pay for your trips. Then it started morphing into the business side of it.
Yeah, I mean, so I'd see it just a little different, but our families were telling us you need to be able to present this some way, and we weren't really into it. And I was finishing up a bank job. I didn't rob a bank. I was
I was gonna say,
an
You
executive.
finished the bank job. It was a
And
good one.
I was working down in San Diego, and it just wasn't working out. So we decided, went to Sturgis, and it was over after that. And I was going to take, you know, I don't know, maybe 60 days and just take a reprieve for a minute. But I got bored after like a week. And so Lance and I had I think, a great relationship with a bunch of people that you see on our storefront, whether that was Saddleman, Clockworks, those kind of folks. And we'd gone to a couple drag trade shows, and it was early in little Lance's career with drag. So he would pull us along to help with the sales and do stuff there. But it allowed us to really get to know these people really well. And so I thought that this novel idea would get a couple Sprinter vans, build a couple bikes, and go to all these guys and say, hey, how do you get your sales done on the West Coast? And it's like, we'll go out and we will pedal up and down the coast for you. Your parts will have a bike built so the GMs and people can go test it, and then we'll sell parts for you. Because in all due respect, we are drag dealers, but it's hard when you have a book full of this many parts to really get focused. And they all signed up and said, yeah, we'd love to do it. And this was just a verbal conversation. And then I came to Lance and I said, these guys are open to doing a Sprinter van. And we're sitting in this parking lot right out front talking. And he's like, well, I'm really bummed because I still have Setware, which is his business of 20 plus years. And then Junior walks out and he's like, what are you guys talking about? And I said, here's what we're planning. He's like, you're crazy. Start your YouTube channel. You guys have been talking about it. Start it. We started it.
So the YouTube channel started before you started focusing on this being an actual
100%.
commercial enterprise.
100%.
Did you have any idea of where it would go? Because let's be blunt, I've known you guys for a while, and I've got to give a big shout out to Josh Seedon. He does some great film work on it. The way you capture the work,
We taught him well.
the way he captures the feeling and the drone work on it has done real well. It wasn't amateur hour.
No,
even from an early stage, you had something.
It was going to be amateur hour because him and I went and did our first video run. I think we filmed it on mostly iPhones. Did we have a GoPro?
We had a GoPro.
So we came back. We have all this footage of this Death Valley run. We did our little history pieces and talks and this and that, same as you would see now, not as good as you would see now. And we brought it back here, and Lance is like, you have your little laptop, just do iMovie. Well, we open the computer and just in short, we're like, screw this. We're not doing this crap. Who do we know that edits? Well, Lance has had a guy shipping, Rob, in his warehouse. And he goes, I know a guy. And he said, here's one of his videos. And we're like, okay, that's cool. How do we call it? You call him up. The next day, he showed up at our warehouse, walking in on crutches with a broken leg, edited our footage. And then he edited footage for the next few months, maybe 6 months. And we said, he needs to go on a trip with us. He went on a trip. And ever since then, he's been on every trip, and he's in office with us now.
Well, just a couple finer points on that. So we found a guy that actually had a drone that we saw an edit that he had posted of them camping up in Kernville. So we're like, that's the guy we want. And secondarily, we found a guy that actually rides a motorcycle. So in this small community of bikers, we found a guy that rides.
We found a biker.
So now
Yeah.
we get a different perspective on our shots because of that. And this should not be done at home, but he's a pretty damn good rider. And so he can get up on his pegs and he can shoot down, he can shoot away, he can shoot. So we're getting different stuff than just kind of point of view.
Right.
And it makes it different. But I'll go back just a little bit. In February, we formed Two Lane Life as an LLC of 2020.
Okay.
So we knew that we were going to start a business.
Okay.
We'd filmed our first trip early in February, and we knew that we wanted to launch it sometime in March. And then we were like, how are we going to pay for this? Like, we can't just, I only have so much cash. He only has so much cash and time. And it's like, it wasn't our intent to create this massive business, but it was our intent, he said it earlier, to have the business support our trips. Can it pay for the hotel and food? Can it pay for the gas? And so we thought, what better way to start a website than to the stuff that we already run, that we had both had Instagrams that people were always asking, what seat is that? What windshield? And so we're like, they see us out riding. Let's just put the stuff up that we know that we can knowledgeably talk about. It's authentic because they can see us out. And let's put a few t-shirts up and let's get a website going. And it just has morphed from there. And it's like people, hey, can you get this? And we're like I was sharing with you earlier before the videos or the live started here, we jumped on Lance's drag dealer number. And so we were ordering oil change kits. We were ordering stuff that people wanted around the bikes through his drag dealer number. And they came to us and said, you're already doing great. Let's start you in a drag dealer number on your own. And so this whole thing is just over the years, we're 4 years old now, it's just started to grow and grow and grow and grow. And it's now to a point where it's like, we need to be competitive with a RevZilla, if you will. We're not going to get to that level of revenue, but if we can out SEO them and they're the best at SEO, then we're going to out SEO them. And that's our goal, is to grow this thing to a multiple where the two of us can kind of just go, all right, Josh, you run it, or what have you. But that's going to take us another 3 or 4 years.
But we have something unique in the fact that, yes, sir, most of the people out there putting out content, it's one person with a camera. We went out with each other. We caught things. We bounced off each other. Then Josh was in the equation. So now there's 3 of us. And now Josh is basically a character in the cast of our rides with us. But we have our wives. So now there's 5 of us. Now we got my son Thrashin and his team when we go to fueling. So we have any moment, anywhere from the 5 of us to 15 of us, and we all have something to offer the community. And we've heard it before. And Lance used to tell me, you guys create stuff that's good enough. People like Harley and people like them will be coming to you. We are now working with Harley all the time. We have all their numbers. They invite us. We do things with them. It's really a great relationship. The sponsors, we don't call them sponsors, our partners that we have, the people that are in the industry that we work with. I mean, we've been with them. They're not going to leave us now. So we have sponsor sources. We have sales sources. We've built this network to a point where it's like, it's a full-time gig that we're all doing. And part of me, like a lot of people, going, this is really great, but I just want to go ride and get the mic out and get history from people and enjoy that part of it, you know.
What were you doing before this?
I was a sign painter.
Okay.
I've not done a lot of different things, but I was a sign painter with my father. So I've always had my own businesses.
Right.
I've always done my own thing, but I was a hand lettering artist for years. It raised my family. And then 25 years ago, I started Setwear, which is gloves and tool belts and pouches for the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
That's still going. My passion is in 2-lane life.
Yep.
That sustains itself.
And how old are you now?
I'm 64 in a week.
All right. Well, early happy birthday.
Yeah.
You'll get the point. You'll get the question how old are you?
57.
And you said about in banking. What was your industry before this?
It's been all financial services.
It's been all financial. So
yeah,
we're talking about guys that are not actually in their prime for, say, taking on social.
Oh, we're in our prime, baby.
But
Well,
you could recognize very early on that you needed to be social. You're talking about Instagram. A lot of people in their 50s.
Well,
okay?
One thing that cracks me up, and he said it before, and I really think it's funny to me, but my same way, his kids have said, Dad, you have like way more followers and subscribers than
when
we
did
do.
you recognize that was important?
well, I didn't. He was running an Instagram a few years before I was, and then until we started writing, that's when I think I started mine. I don't really even remember, but it was just for us to have fun with. It was just us telling a story, and then it became this kind of, people started paying attention to it, you know, and it's like, well, that's interesting, and then it morphed into this kind of, that we really had to focus on it, and not only on social media. SEO on our website, and we're constantly revamping that.
Yeah.
And so you make a funny point, because I would love someone from, they're doing their thesis in college to come and do a case study on us. I mean, we're two people in their 50s, because we started 4 years ago. I guess you were 59 when we started, 59 and a half.
Yeah.
We reinvented ourselves. And that's something that not a lot of people think about. And it's like, now on Instagram, 75% of the people are 45 and younger. And on our YouTube channel, 75% are 45 and older. So we've got this wide net that we've cast out there, and we're capturing both sides of it. And part of it is go back to the stigma or mystique of the 1%ers. Our early stuff, and even today, it's Levi's and Vans, and people are like, these guys are kind of cool, and they're with these younger guys, and the old guys are like, hey, it's really cool that you take your wives with you, and we like kind of your vibe. And so it's worked. And I think the real key here is when we fight as well, because we're just buddies and we do that, but we also hug it out and we're over it. We don't get back into it. But I don't think there's a lot of people out there that have a relationship like we have, that their mates can go out and go hang out and ride in the country. We get a lot of people, it's a single. But you have your son Henry as well, so the two of you can go do some stuff together. But a lot of riders out there, they don't have people. It's maybe a hog group, maybe it's something.
Right. They're looking. We have something that's also, when you're doing this, it becomes like a drug, let's say, because our outreach to people. I mean, we were talking to Jeff Holt in Sturgis, and he's pretty prominent in the motorcycle world. He does a lot of his own videos on YouTube, and he's standing there saying, I want to thank you guys for what you do. The industry needs people like you and what you're doing. And he's like, and he's like, look, and he stops. He's like, I'm talking to you right now. I'm getting the chills. What you guys do is so needed. And from that to people that we help that are from illnesses, for mental illnesses, help relationships with their fathers, their friends, they come to us from all over the world and tell us their stories that they've done because of watching our videos. So it's like, when I say it's like a drug, you get this, we're here to inspire everyone. Well, now move it 4 years forward, we're getting inspiration from people. It's almost like we need the fix now. It's like, what can we do now? What charity can we help?
I'm not a drug addict. I'm
a bank robber, as we worked out earlier. Yeah.
What can we do to help this program? What can we do to help this group? How do we bring awareness to this? Now, so we've kind of done this, even though there's nothing like the open road, because we can ride all weather distance. We did 1,100 miles in 15 hours from Sturgis to Vegas on the way home in the rain and all kinds of stuff with the thrashing guys. But the energy and that feeling that we get when we're riding and we're chatting in it's just like, can't replace it.
Hey, I'm sorry for interrupting this podcast. I know it's a brilliant one, but I wanted to talk to you about your room, your connections. Now, we know full well that great things come from great connections and great rooms. Now, if you're in a room full of people that will challenge you, inspire you, motivate you, and support you, then great. But if not, then maybe I have the solution for you. Head on over to stevedsims.com, look up Sims Distillery there, and join our community of creative disruptors, those that are only not there to help you and motivate and actually give you information, but to support and answer questions. We very much vet the room to make sure that we support each other's growth. We all want each other to grow. So if you want to be in the right room, head on over to stevedsims.com/Sims Distillery, and I'll see you inside my room. Enjoy the rest of the show. Do you feel this as an obligation now? I've known you guys for a while now. I was trying to think how long we've known each other, but it's been for quite a while.
3 years or 3.5 years.
I was going to say, so it wasn't far short after when you started.
No.
Yeah.
And I've seen you go from, I won't say the unknowns, but kind of like being able to turn up at an event to, like you say now, you turn up at a Chopper Fest or you turn up at any one of these gigs, or when you opened up your store here just outside of LA. And how many people turned up for the opening?
About 500. We served
500.
840 tacos and 600 bottles of water.
Hey, our wives have been
Insane.
in the Salt Lake airport meeting us. And as they're walking through the airport, people go, "You're the 2-lane wives."
How do you feel about that now?
It's great.
But what about the obligation? Because I remember before we were talking about this, and I remember when I was on your show those years back, and you said about some of the characters that had contacted you, and that, you know, you were able to kind of give them a voice. And now we were talking about it outside. Some of the people that have come on your show that have felt comfortable in the environment that you've put together, that they can share stuff that they normally wouldn't be able to share.
Well,
Does that feel as though there's an obligation on your shoulders now?
for me personally, I don't feel that way, because we're the type of guys that if someone needs help and they're along the road, or if someone needs help in the grocery store, he'll run over and help the lady. We like to help people. We're storytellers that kind of love people and meeting people across the country. So for me personally, it's not an obligation. I'm in the community of humans, and if you got a good thing going or not a good thing going,
I mean, I think we've coined this a couple times. We do it our way, right? We're not beholden to anyone but us. And if we look in the mirror every morning and say, "Are you successful?" and how has your success been developed? Has it just been on squishing people, or has it been on supporting people that need the support and getting a voice out that is not just only going to help a person to let them share, but the hundreds of people that when they do share, that it will help? That's when we know we've made it, is when we've got an audience out there and you can sit here and you can go look at our lives, and you can look at Fast Eddie, you can look at Ray Ripple, you can look at Letitia Klein, you can look at a bunch of these stories, and the comments are just, it almost brings you to tears, because what we've given them as a platform for them to feel comfortable enough in our area to be able to say what they want to say and talk about their challenges. And I think that's really what's become kind of the interesting feed. We've had multiple stories of people that cancer victims and their families and their fathers, and their mothers, and they're watching our content from the hospital bed. And it feels like, one lady told us, it was like every day her father's Saturday morning cartoon was on, and it was us playing in his hospital bed. And he went to his deathbed with that, but she knew he was happy. She called and asked, can you guys spread his ashes for us? And so these are kind of and we don't see that as an obligation. And we told her, "Hey, you let us know when you're out in Kingman. Maybe we'll be that way. We'll come help you."
You build it and they will come, and they're coming.
Like I say, we do it our way. You get, and it's really been interesting, because I don't think either of us, all three of us, our wives, all five of us, I don't think we expected to have notoriety. That just we weren't thinking about that. And the first year we went to Sturgis, after we dropped this, we had Cole Seeley and his son with us. Cole's a supercross guy. Yeah. And Lance calls Laura and said, "Little Lance, Dad and Gaylin are getting more recognition than Cole and I." And we hadn't even, but we didn't think of it that way. It wasn't something that we had planned on. And so now it can be weird, because some people know more about you than you want to know. We talked about this 3 Sturgises ago. As an actor, you're portraying a character.
Yeah.
We're not. We're the character. You're seeing us. And I think that's one of the things that allows people, when they come in here, and they're like just starstruck, and we're just as kind and cordial as we are when you see us. That's just who we are.
Just real.
We're just authentic people.
There's a few things that you brought up which can easily trigger people. We're in a world today where being yourself is a risk.
Yeah.
And you've turned around and you've openly said, we just do things our way.
Yep.
We're sitting in a podcast studio just out of LA. You're drinking beer. We've got loads of whiskey behind us. This scares people. There are people out there that go, shit, I wish I could just do that. And there are other people that get out there going, oh my God, they've got alcohol, that's going to trigger somebody.
Of course.
But you've said quite openly, you have the connection with these people that don't know you, but because of your transparency of who you are and what you stand for, can relate to you, and they can make that decision very easily. Why are people so scared of that?
I think what's happened over the last couple of years, and I think you're going to see more of this, is because of the streaming service and those kind of things, right? People are drifting away from television, but they're still watching television. They're just watching us on a 72-inch screen TV, and our production quality, we've never wavered from trying to just do it better. And we've talked to him ad nauseum about tightening things up, and he's such a perfectionist, Josh, that I'm speaking of, that our stuff is pretty damn good. And so it is television quality. So I think people see us as we're people on television, and when we're really on a YouTube channel, right? And so I think it also, you were mentioning earlier as well about technology. And so when we first started, the formatting for YouTube was 8-minute videos and not much longer. And we were putting up 20.
Yeah.
Right.
Then half hour.
And can you do it two a day, 2 a week? And no, we do 1 a week, but we hadn't missed one for our 200th video dropped on a Wednesday. I mean, that's how many videos we've done. But I think the technology also has allowed us, when we started this in 2020, that was a hell of a year.
Yeah.
Right. But it allowed us in countries that were completely locked down to be seen in those countries because they were searching for content. If we were in a magazine ad, there's no way in hell they'd find us. Right. Social media gave us that platform. So we hate it, but we have to love it because we have to use it. And so when we post something, it's not just because we're trying to post. We're cool. We want a cool vibe to it. We want a feel to it so that it resonates with you.
But people generally, they get stuck in a zone and they'll live their life vicariously through us while they're in their zone. All you got to do is open the door and window and get out there. And when you start feeling what you get addicted to, we had a guy that walked up to us at the homecoming, and he's our age. His wife and kids were behind him going, "Oh my God, this guy's crazy for you guys." And I watch all your stuff. He was very animated. And he goes, "I want you guys to know I have 10,000 miles on my couch watching you during the winter." So,
but not everyone can get out and ride.
No, but
we're riding all year long.
Yeah, you got to take some chances in life and get out there, meet some, you know what? Say hi to a stranger, watch what happens. You never know. I love not knowing because when you get the result, it's exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
Talking about excitement. So you've launched all of this to put the gas in the tank, and you've gone past that. You've built up a community, you built up a following, you built up a fan base. You built up 2-lane online so you can buy all your gear. You've got your YouTube channels. What's next?
Gosh, we don't know yet, but that's the exciting part about it. But we just want to still travel. We want to keep going what we have, travel, meet more people, shake more hands in America, tell their story. People love to tell their story. When you get in these small towns, they can't wait to open up, especially the ones that say, when we say, "Hey, do you want to get on camera? Can we listen?" "Oh, no, I'm not good at it." And then you kind of talk them into it. And then they're the best.
Yeah, they got that character.
They just, boom, they come out with the stories. And so that, I think we're just going to keep riding the road up, do what we can.
Well, we have a planning board behind us. We don't just do things on a whim. And I think if you want to break it down into a couple different categories. So for the business side of it, we're revamping everything we're doing on the web, on our accounting systems, because we're experiencing growth, and we need to make sure that we're available to harness that capacity, because we're only continuing to grow, right? And when I say that, that means we have to add more to the website. We have to add more employees. We're not making a shit ton of money right now. We're in our 4th year as a banker. If you were in a new business and you survived 3 years, there's a pretty damn good chance that you're going to keep going. So we crossed that bridge a year ago, and we're still looking at growing pains as we add people here to work. That comes out of Lance in my pocket directly. So it's not like we're capturing all this money. We've been called Rubs, which is a rich urban biker, because they can see us at steakhouses and traveling. They have no idea. No, it's tough sometimes, right? But I think from a growth perspective or where we're going next, the store has to continue to grow, and we have to get better at that. And because that's our lifeblood. I think the idea of we've done the last 4 kind of launches with Harley Davidson. We'd like that to continue to be in place. We're actually going on a trip on Thursday of this week. We're flying to Vegas. We're picking up some 24s, and we're going to run back through Death Valley to do a little bit of a piece for them on that. And that's been a really good relationship to have. I think the other side of it's the sponsorships that we want the partners that we bring on. We've got most of what we want, but there's still maybe 1 or 2 that we want to get out there and tangle with, because we don't do anything unless it's authentic, right? All the stuff that we run on our bikes, we've run for 10 years. We're not looking for, the next guy to pay us a check. We want a partner that's going to be in it with us, and we shake hands, and they get growth, we get growth, and we have a good time, just like we just signed on Law Tigers as an example. So we've got this kind of, 1%er, we're out riding motorcycles, but we can be smart sometimes too, right? Because we've got a business and we've got homes and families that we still have to feed. It's not like we've got all this wealth that's just, driving this thing. It's not a hobby for us.
Not at all. It's not at all exactly what he said. The hobby part of it, even though it's not a hobby, we started it as a hobby. It's just turned into a lifestyle. People say, are you guys, when you're out there filming, is it just like a job now? You're tired of it? And I'm like, hell no, because we're all creative. When you're out on the road, I can't picture being on the road and not wanting to get a shot, because you see something beautiful and you're like, hey, I'll stop and paint it, but I'll just put it in my house and you won't see it. But I can put it out on the screen and share that. So for me, and I think all of us feel the same way.
But I think
it's a moving art.
Different countries, the Europeans, as an example, they tend to have vacation, or they call it, what do they call the vacations? Holiday. They tend to have holiday. In some of the Middle Eastern and the Mediterranean, their work hours are different. In the US, we're kind of taught, especially from the corporate side of things, that you need to work, 8 to 5 every day, take your lunch break, work till you're 67 years old, then hopefully you're healthy enough to go out and travel and see the world. And when you talk about us recreating ourselves and rebranding ourselves, I think what we're doing right now is we're living what most people would love to do, which is we're vacationing. Well, we've got a business behind us. We have a YouTube channel behind us.
But you're focusing on life as the point.
We are having a great time. We've taken this kid over here, Josh, to so many places over the last 4 years across this country. Lubeck, Maine, the Zion National Park, Yosemite. We've taken him everywhere, and he would not have seen that as a 20. When did you start? 23? 22. Started as 22-year-old guy, and over 4 years has seen everything. And we took him into Canada this year. So we're not sitting behind the 9-to-5 job. Not that that's bad. It treated me very well for 30 years. But I wanted to retire when I was 53, and I did. I haven't really, because we have this. But we go on trips, and what it's done is changed our hours of riding.
Right.
Now we get twilight hours more because we're filming all day, so it takes us longer to get somewhere. Now we've got some of the best evening shots you'll ever see in the world.
And then when you pull up to a place, you pull up on your bikes, and whether it's a bar or restaurant,
or it's
people see your bikes, degrees. It's great. I mean, it's a great lifestyle. But my whole life was like working with my father and doing my sign business and the stuff. I luckily didn't have to adhere to that. I would leave and I'd go kayaking, or I would take my son. My dad said to me once, if you put as much time as you're putting into your son, getting him to the track, into your business would be better. And I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, but we're not talking about you. We're talking about the normal.
I know, but I'm just saying where my
9 to 5
mind is, and I was leading that into something. If people take that chance, someone said, the bucket list thing.
Yeah.
He said he looked at us, and if this could be about me too, but he looked at me and said, You don't need a bucket list. You're living this bucket list life. When he asked me what it's like, but I think I like to try and get people to do a little more of that. Just take a chance, go out, leave early from work one day if you can. Find yourself,
Henry's actually in Berlin at the moment. Henry buggered off to what was it, Milan, Madrid, and Berlin. He hasn't got kids, he hasn't got a mortgage, so get out there. And of course, me and Claire, we traveled a lot when we were younger. And he's totally realized that there is a force of what a working day is in America versus what it is in Europe.
100%.
There's kind of like, hey, let's live and then let's work to pay for the living that we're
Right.
going to do more of. And you're right. I think people look at bikers. I think there's a lot of, I don't want to romanticize it too much, but I think there's a bit of jealousy that they're out there. They're disconnected from the planet. They're being themselves. They're being how they want to be. They're waving at people up the road that they don't even know. But to a lot of people, that scares them.
Well, I mean, and we did a podcast early on with a group called Four for the Road. And these are MC guys that were trying to make the MC style and feel a little bit better so that people understood it. But one of the guys that was on it was like, it's tough for us because we can't travel like you do. We have to make sure the MC knows where we're going and what we're doing and what they're up to. And we're jealous of that. And we weren't really even thinking about that, but most bigger clubs, that's what you have to do. And this guy left the club.
Yeah.
Because now he's traveling like we do, and he's free. And it's not that clubs are great. Clubs are for people that need that balance. That a lot of the club guys are come out of the armed forces, and so there's a likeness, and they can just look at each other and know the pain that they've been through together. But that's just not who we ever were. But we get along with mostly all the clubs. But it was interesting to hear him say, "I'm jealous of that," and then he acted on it.
Yeah.
And got out so he could just go ride and see what we see.
I've actually got a friend of mine in the UK, exact same thing. He was part of a patch, and they would only go out on their rides.
Yeah.
And if he wanted to go out and ride on his own, or if he didn't particularly fancy going out on a Friday night or something like that, that wasn't a choice.
Right.
And it started to take the fun away from him of the two wheels. Now your YouTube channel is blowing up. Give a shout out. What's the best place to find it?
YouTube, 2Lane Life. That's the handle. You can go to 2lanelife.com and find it. You click on the videos.
Just like that, right?
There it is.
The number 2Lane Life.
Instagram is 2Lane Life. We've got Big Lance C as Instagram, Xerox 57. Yes, like the copy machine. And this guy over in the corner's got I Am Riding Places or something like that.
We're going to put all the social links underneath, and I'm going to urge everyone that to actually follow up. But
there's another. If you go to
ahead.
2lanelife.com, we have all kinds of parts. We have blogs, maps, stuff to help the riders.
Well, and much like you do, we stream and we do lives.
Yeah.
So we have podcasts. This is kind of how we don't do it like this. Usually we record on the fly. But we push out to Apple, we push out to Spotify. So there's some podcasts you can listen to off of our lives.
a lot of them have got mutual friends of ours on there.
Yeah.
So,
Yes,
You're on there.
Yeah, they can skip past that one. All right, then. Gaylin and Lance, thank you so much, guys. Thanks for allowing me to have you on my show in your studio. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. You know what to do. If you love it, share, subscribe, but more than anything, do something with it. And remember, life's too short to play it safe. So disrupt, connect, and grow. See you next time.